In this video, I want to talk to you about, is Grandblue Fantasy Relink worth playing? But before I dive into that topic, I think it's really important to educate people on what this game is all about, and perhaps where you should play, because I've been waiting for Grandblue Fantasy Relink for a long time, and that's a lot of words to say. But since it was announced all the way back in 2016, it did seem like every year we were just left wondering. I know I've talked to several of you about it in the Discord, and we've been saying, like, do we think next year is going to be our year? Well, finally, as we step into 2024, that has become a reality. Officially, the game is releasing on February 1st, 2024. But if you pre-order the game, you can play up to 4 days earlier on January the 28th at 7 a.m. PDT. So adjust your date and time accordingly for that release. Now, here's a bit of a question that's up in the air. The game is releasing on the PS4, PS5, and Steam, but it currently can only be wish-listed on Steam. So if you want that early access, perhaps maybe wait till the 27th-ish and then decide on which platform if you're really wanting to go with Steam, but I don't know, that hype and temptation gets you to go into the PlayStation ecosystem. I'll leave the decision up to you. Now, it's also important to talk about crossplay. Why this first point was so important is because what you need to know about this second point, crossplay, because that's going to impact its overall value depending on what kind of gamer you are. The game is quote-unquote cross-play between PS4 and PS5, but not over to the PC environment. So the PlayStation ecosystem is walled off, the PC system is walled off, and there is no Xbox or Nintendo Switch offering at the time of this recording. If that ever changes, I'll be sure to give you guys an update. And while I highly do recommend this game, or at least at the very minimum, you should try the demo that is out and see for yourself. But the lack of crossplay, especially on PC, that's going to take a game that really isn't that well known in the West and only make it harder for people to really play together and to share their experience and grow a community that's bigger and bigger here in the West. Now, it's a minor setback for some and a major issue for others. That's not to say that can't get updated, but rumors do point that Sony charges for that as a feature, so I'm not sure that that's something that they still do, or if the development team just didn't want to worry about making crossplay a reality. It doesn't matter though, because the game doesn't have it as an option. So if you're waiting to play this game with friends, sync up on which platform that you want to play on before you buy. Just remember, PS4 and PS5 players can play together. So that's where a little bit of the confusion online has occurred. But thankfully, the official devs, Cygames, came out with the statement stating that, yeah, PC users are going to be in their own space. Otherwise, you're going to, there's just a little bit of a demarcation, a separation, if you will. All right, hopefully I have given you all the critical details, and now we can dive into how I feel about this game. Now, if you're not interested in some random guy's opinion on the internet, no worries. Thanks for checking out the video all the way up to this point. Hopefully I'll see you in future videos. But from here on out, this is really going to lean all into my opinion, especially with the games that I like to play. So if you don't like JRPGs or anime RPGs or Diablo or these kind of games, well, generally, you're probably not going to vibe with Grandblue Fantasy Relink. Now, I still think and would actively encourage you to check out the demo, and that way you can, remove the mystery out of your mind. But ultimately, I really do think it's worth your time. So anyway, thanks for checking out the video. Hope you stick around for more. For the rest of you guys who love RPG games and these style of games, first, I want to tell you that this game, to me, feels if Monster Hunter and an anime JRPG had a baby. This is their love child. When talking about this on stream, I think it's a Monster Hunter, but it also feels very RPG. That's one of the things that I was always like, I love in Monster Hunter, like if there was I had an XP bar, but that doesn't exist really there. Here I do, it tells me I'm level 10. And so there might be, if it is Monster Hunter kind of inspired to a degree, then it might end up being another roadmap. This is so cool. Like I'm absolutely digging on all this.
Yeah,
it looks like it's an action RPG semi-multiplayer.
Like
now, if you want to check out more gameplay, I'm going to link those videos where you saw those clips in the description of this video. So hopefully you check it out. Somebody did push back on me though and said that Monster Hunter was also an anime JRPG, and that's fair. But I think the visuals really drive home that anime look and feel more than Monster Hunter does, in my humble opinion. Now, I also really enjoy the RPG elements. There are multiple characters, lots to do in terms of building out your party, and the party banter is fun and exciting, and it keeps me smiling from ear to ear. It's important to note that this isn't the first Grandblue fantasy game. The first one came out back in 2014 as a turn-based MMORPG for mobile phones. Now, this isn't a mobile game, by the way, but what is a mobile game is this video's sponsor, Mobile Games Suck. That's right, you know all those annoying things about gaming nowadays? Yep, blame mobile games. Needless to say, not really a fan of them, and that's not really a sponsor, so hopefully you got as much enjoyment as I got out of just writing that line anyhow. So anyway, the second Grandblue fantasy game actually released in 2020, and it was called Grandblue Fantasy Versus, and it was a 2.5D fighting game on PS4 and PC, and you can still get it today. In fact, I think it's about $50. So from a price dropping perspective, keep that in mind. Now, the game's been out for a little bit, and you might want to, if you want interested in checking it out, maybe wait for another Steam sale to take effect, or Sony does a lot of sales on their digital games as well. Now, I want to talk more about the multiplayer and the overall feel of the game, but I'd like to highlight your opinions that you leave in the comments. So let's look at a few of those before we talk about the multiplayer aspects. Now, Mokadai says, I love the banter during battles, LOL. If you listen to some of it, it's very clever. But Aurora said the ongoing spam of dialogue in battles is overwhelming to me, even with both languages. So just keep in mind, everybody's going to have different opinions about different things. And I thought these two kind of highlighted where I fall in the positive side with the banter. Ultimately, you may not, and you can go check out how much banter we're talking about, again, on the previous aforementioned live streams. Now, MHIM, and then some other letters and numbers back after that, says, I hope you get a chance to play the other characters as well. Their styles of combat are really fun. Some of them more than I expected because I initially only had my eyes on Yadhara and Lancelot. I ended up liking Namara more than expected because she turned out to be a Final Fantasy XIV samurai, if Final Fantasy XIV Samurai required a brain cell to play. Well done. Well done. And the Mage, Io, or Lo. I keep reading that as Io. You guys can correct me in the comments. It is like playing Black Mage and White Mage at the same time, and she even has ley lines. I like this. Yes, you can play multiple characters. I've been able to play a handful of them. I still want to go and play through a couple more, so maybe I'll do a future live stream over on Ginger Prime for you guys when I get the time to do so. Anyhow, Bad News says the whole game has no copyrights. Trailer music, animation are all free to stream and monetize. Hope this helps. This is great because if you guys know certain anime RPGs, to name, not to really name a few, but I've played and streamed, and some parts of those games are copyright, usually with any kind of anime intro and music. That's where they're going to get you, and that's something that I was concerned about, but I was really happy to learn this as a fact. Now, our final comment before we get more into the depths of the gameplay. This franchise is huge in Japan, says TYG. People are sleeping on this, and it's not an unknown IP, and the co-op RPGs are in high demand, saying that if you don't like Borderlands, Diablo, Monster Hunter, Dragon's Crown, Phantasy Star, i.e. looter, boss, battler, co-op games, then you probably aren't going to like Grandblue Fantasy. Now, this last comment brings home both my excitement and concern for the game, and why, again, I recommend you play the demo for yourself if you get the opportunity, unless they put a lot of money into marketing, or that the game just goes viral with streamers and content creators. And I think the lack of crossplay is going to be one of the biggest concerns that I have for players picking up this game and building its future. Now, it's not to say that it's going to be a make or break feature, but it isn't well known as a franchise here in the West. Those things are all kind of important to understand together. Individually, we can kind of pick and choose if these are strong features, but the fact that it is not a massively established Western known franchise means that they're going to either have to spend a lot of marketing dollars, or they're going to hope that the community in and of itself markets the game for them, and we'll just have to wait and see for that. So the point I'm trying to make is that we're talking about niche games here. Niche games aren't bad. I love niche games, but in terms of scale, the multiplayer that they have is awesome. I'm just worried for the players who pick up one and then their friend picks it up on the other, because we're in a new age of multiplayer games. Now, anyway, because this obviously lets you play with your friends, this is going to turn that typical RPG story and narrative into a game that's going to give you many, 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 many hours of replayability. That's going to thus increase the overall worth of this game when it's all said and done. But let's actually kind of dive into that worth, because this is going to be different for each and every one of us. There are 3 tiers to this game as its price structure. So consider this. Once the hype dies down, prices come down. Typically, you'll find these type of games ranging from $20 to $40. The standard starting price here is actually rather nice at $60 rather than the normal $70, but it does go up from there. Outside of the standard edition, you have a special edition, which is going to run you $80, and the deluxe edition follows it up with $100. You can see everything they have to offer here on screen. So if you're trying to decide which one you want, I say it's your money. Spend it wisely, and if you're on a budget, as you should be, and want to play, I usually like to think of it as $1 per hour of fun. You can adjust that $1 per hour to whatever scale suits you best, but if I think about it as $1 per hour of joy, I try to see if I'm going to spend $60, hopefully I can get 60 hours of fun out of that game. Now, it's fair that maybe I should adjust this to $2 with inflation, or you can adjust this $2 or more depending on the type of game that it is, but that's generally how I think about a game's worth. Am I going to get 60 hours of Grandblue Fantasy Relink? Yes. Am I going to get 100? That depends really on you, and if you guys want to play together, and if we're having a lot of fun slaying monsters, getting loot, and building out our characters. If you're interested in that, by the way, you can always jump into the Discord. The top link in the description will get you into the community. We talk a lot about games, MMOs. Obviously, you can see the name of the channel is Blue Protocol Central, so you might be right at home with that upcoming game that is supposed to release here in the West, hopefully soon. We're still waiting on news for that, but I digress. It's going to be another great and busy year for gaming. Grandblue Fantasy Relink is kicking off this year in style. To me, this brings home a huge amount of nostalgia, both as a standalone RPG, but the characters and everything really kind of takes me back into the PS1 and PS2 era, growing up in that era where it felt like we were just getting inundated with RPGs, and I had all kinds of time to sit down and enjoy them, whether they ranged from like a AA RPG all the way to a AAA RPG. I don't feel like this game is in that AA category. It really is fleshed out, and the world feels so good, reminding me of like Skies of Arcadia and some of these just great classics that if you never had the opportunity, hopefully you will. But that's where this game can really kind of hopefully bring you into that same feeling I had when I got to play those games years ago. So let me know if you're planning on picking up the game and what platform, and if we can or can't pre-order on Steam, I might pick up the PS5 version, but I haven't really decided at the time of this recording. I'm leaning Steam over, over PlayStation, but that's just kind of how I game nowadays. There's really no wrong choice as long as you're happy and enjoying your games. Now, if you're interested in playing together or talking about games, I invite you to check out the Discord. You can also check out my other content on my different channels, as well as my podcasts. But regardless, I hope this isn't the last time I see you. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, take care.